Welcome to the Jerry Pitre Show, your go-to podcast for everything in the world of collectible cards and sports memorabilia. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, we dive deep into the stories, the history, and the trends shaping the market. From iconic rookie cards to rare sports artifacts, join us as we explore the fascinating intersection of sports and collecting. Let's dig into the treasures that tell the story of legends. Episode 7 featuring PokemonufcJR. So JR is a longtime homie. I know him through the vending world. He always has the best cards. He literally is a big time dealer selling, middle price stuff to very expensive stuff. But yeah, JR, hey, thank you for being on the show, man.
Man, I appreciate you having me. Absolutely. I've been watching the episodes. You've been doing a good job.
So give the people just a little introduction to yourself, JR.
All right. So, of course, my name's JR, but I go by Pokemon UFC JR because I love Pokemon and I love UFC. So I just put those two together when I first started. And yeah, so a little bit about me. I got into collecting uh, probably around 2021. And I've been collecting since I was a kid. But as far as taking it seriously, is when my son got a scholarship to Auburn and needed to make some extra money and to pay for tuition and everything. So I got into doing that, got into cards, and I started out in Pokemon, and then transitioned into sports cards, and then now I do just pretty much everything but baseball.
Nice, nice. So you kind of lightly talked on it. You said it was 2021. You kind of jumped back in and got serious.
Yeah. So in 2021, well, actually 2020 is when my son got accepted to Auburn, and he got a scholarship. But for anybody that don't know, scholarships doesn't cover everything. Like it's only a fraction of it. So I needed to make some extra money, and so I was thinking how I was going to do that. And then I had a ton of cards from when I collected when I was younger, and by that time the boom already happened in 2020. So I started dabbling in that and I did my first show. I think that's where I met you at was in Gardendale. I think it was like 2021 is when we first met, and I was like 90% Pokemon and 10% sports cards. And the first show I did, I was amazed about how much money I made. In one day that was crazy for somebody like me, and so just turned it into built off of that. And but yeah, that's basically what got me into it, was to have a secondary income to be able to pay for college for my son. And it has been it I love this community because it has done that plus more. Like, not only is he a senior this year and about to graduate, but like it's paid for a lot more. It's bought a car. When my car broke down a couple years ago, I was able to flat out go buy a car, and it was all sports card money, like every single bit of it. Didn't have to go into my regular job at all. So it has definitely provided a lot for me, and just the friendships and the fun people I get to hang out with. And yeah, I, I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. First off, SEC against the world. That's all we know, baby.
100%.
Um. So when you first jumped back into the hobby, what did you actually like go for at first? As far as cards, were you like strictly, hey, let me jump right into Pokemon because that's what I'm familiar with, or how did you
Yes.
navigate that?
Yeah. So pretty much, I love Pokemon. I play Pokemon Go uh, and love that community. I don't get to play it as much as I like to, because I mean, I would do every community day, every raid day, and that community is amazing. And I knew the Pokemon world very well, and I had a lot, and I got lucky. I come across of a collection of somebody that I was able to buy, and you saw a lot of those cards, and that really helped me launch my, like, being a vendor. And but yeah, I got into Pokemon. That, I would say, that's what started it. And then I just transitioned. I went into our local card shop, Champ Sports Cards, and met Brooks, and me and him become very good friends now. I look at him like a brother, and he has really helped me and guided me along the way. I made a huge transition into the sports card market, and he definitely helped a lot as far as that, showing me. I know football, I know basketball. I'm gonna mute my phone, but I don't know baseball that much, and haven't really tapped into that. And then of course UFC. I know I haven't missed a UFC event ever. So that's kind of the fields that I play in.
Yeah, shout out to Champs. Shout out to Brooks.
Yes,
Literally, I would argue and say the best shop in Alabama by a
I
country
agree.
mile.
Yep.
Um, Super knowledgeable, great way to source inventory. Anytime I've had questions, I've been able to go to Brooks and been like, you know, how do I navigate this? How do I do this? How do I do that? And, what is he, 30 plus years experience? Great
Yep.
advice always.
He was. I always like to tell people he was doing it when it wasn't cool. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Brooks was doing it when it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I
probably the best $5 boxes in the business.
easily. That's
Easily.
how I got my start, was jumping into his $5 boxes. And
Mm.
there's quite often where you go in there and you buy something for $5, go flip it online for 20, rinse, recycle, repeat, and you really
Yep.
are able to scale up. And it definitely, changed my tactics. So since you're into Pokemon and since you're into UFC, do you have a PC, like a personal collection?
Yes, I do. And my PC is actually neither one of those. It's Dwayne Wade. I was a big Dwayne Wade fan when he was at Marquette, and the run that they did. Uh, when I say I collect Dwayne Wade, I collect his rookies, all PSA 10s, all rookies. I've got some of his that is still to this day like a pop six on some cards. It's just low pop. I'm a big Dwayne Wade fan, big Conor McGregor fan. Uh, I PC Conor McGregor, I PC Dwayne Wade, and a lot of Pokemon. Like my Pokemon collection is huge that I don't even bring to shows, that I just have stored up. You know, yeah. But definitely Dwayne Wade.
Awesome. I really love D Wade. I think he's a great character, on and off the court. He's a very funny, likable guy, and he's super talented. So totally makes sense. So kind of could you describe like a memorable like story or related kind of thing that like was a card to your collection?
Oh gosh, yeah. Let's see. A card that I have now.
It doesn't have to be, but something memorable that
Okay.
sticks out.
I would probably say the Charizard and the gold star. That one sticks out because that I got that when I first started. That was a part of that collection. And the Lugia that I don't have no more, that I regret selling, that I had forever, that you saw.
Yeah, the
Those
Crystal
two
Lugia.
cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, because those were as mint as could be. I still have the Charizard, but the Lugia I finally sold one day. Uh, but those cards were just in great condition, and that's really kind of important because that's kind of like what launched me into being a vendor, setting up and getting started. Is that in it? And yeah, Pokemon for sure.
So one of the things I always kind of like to ask people, like, where do you fall in the spectrum of, are you a collector? Are you an investor? Are you a flipper? Are you kind of a mix? Where do you fall in that?
That's a good question because my wife would tell you that I'm a hoarder. But I think I'm all of them. I mean, if I can find something, if I can flip it fast, I will. I love collecting, probably too much. Uh, but and of course I love vending, but I would say I've got a little mixture of everything because a lot of my stuff that I collect that I don't bring out to shows, to be honest with you, is stuff that's probably not even worth $50, but it's just I like the way it looks. Like I have a lot of Pokemon cards that I have a lot that are valuable, and I have some that are not, but the ones that are not, to me they just look so cool. It's the pattern or something, the way it looks, that somebody might not give $10 for it, but for me, I love it. That's kind of how I like a lot of my stuff that I collect that I put back is.
So, I know JR, and just for the people to catch up, JR is like a hardcore vendor. JR, how many shows do you think you've done, kind of rough estimate, this year alone?
Probably two or three a month. What are we in October? So 30, maybe 30 this year so far.
Yeah. And for you guys and girls who have not seen JR's table, literally crazy 101s, gold to tens, rookie patch autos, like just the nastiest of the nasty stuff. I mean, honestly. Um, so
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I do want to say this though, because when people, whoops, sorry about that. Let me fix this. When people do see my table and they see that, they think that it just happened, and it didn't. Like when I started, the stuff that I have in my showcase, I used to dream about. Like I would see it at Brooks's shop, and I would be like, man, I would love to own a card like that, but there's no way that I could do it. I literally, the first year, I shopped in the dollar boxes and $5 boxes, and every now and then went up to tens. Having autos and patches and stuff wasn't even on my radar. I literally flipped as quick and as fast as I could back then. I probably don't do that as fast as now as I need to, but back then I was really fast and very quick, and I built my way up. There was a time that I never thought that I could even buy a $500 card. Now I can buy one and not think about it. But at that time, it was like a dream. A lot of stuff that I have, a lot of times when you see vendors, you get it and you think, wow, look what everything they got. But it's like some of them really do start from the bottom and work their way up. And I did that. And, I've taken losses along the way. Uh, I don't like taking losses. They're horrible, but I have. And I've had a lot of guidance and a lot of help. My biggest thing that I tell people is it's okay to ask for help. I've been very fortunate and very lucky that, again, I know I've said his name, but Brooks, because he's such a friend, he's helped me along the way. When one of the biggest advices he gave me, because I do hang on to so many cards, is, are you really going to miss this card if you sell it? And I really had to ponder that, because, if I've got a card and let's say I want 25 for it, or let's just say 30, and somebody goes 20, am I really going to go over $10? Is that card really going to make a difference when I have thousands of cards? Just go ahead and sell it for 20. Are you really going to miss it that much, when probably a year and a half ago, I would have been like, I'll meet you in the middle at 25. I'm already giving you a deal, but I'll give you more. So I've been doing this a while, and I'm still learning. There's things that I'm still learning to do to get better at my craft and what I'm doing, because there's no way that you can do this thing perfect. It's just impossible. There's so many variables. There's so many injuries. There's so many. You take Jalen Milrow for an example. This past weekend, interception. Friday, I just got a PSA shipment in of nothing but him. If I could have got it back 2 weeks ago, I'm talking about 101 autos, everything. Now granted, they're still going to sell, but I'm gonna have to hold them.
yeah,
I can't put
yeah.
them out right now. I'm gonna have to wait and hope that they win a couple games, and then move them. But that's a perfect example. You know, um, but yeah.
So that's a great segue into the next question. So, do you do a lot of grading, and if so, what companies do you use?
Yeah, I do. I just got started in grading this year. It is the year that I started grading. I had a friend of mine tell me that he was grading, and he was showing me what he was doing, and it made a lot of sense. And in the very beginning, when I started, I was always told, "Don't do grading, just flip raw. It's a waste of time." At that time was a couple years ago. PSA was taking forever to get cards back. I grade with one company, and that's PSA. I don't grade with nobody else. I don't believe in taking my cards to somebody and letting them do it for me, and not talking about anybody that does that. There's a lot of people when I'm set up at shows that they have that. You go drop their cards off. Why am I going to let someone handle a card? If I think, the way I look at it, if I think a card is valuable enough for me to send to PSA, I'm not going to let somebody else handle it. You know what I'm saying? I can take the time out and I can clean the card. I can get it ready. I can put it in a box, print the paperwork, and ship it off. You know, I'm not going to say no names, but I told you this story. I had a friend that had a Kobe Bryant patch auto, sent it off with people that are set up at our shows all the time. Mysteriously, it went disappeared, and he got nothing out of it. A couple $1,000 card, and nothing because they said it got lost, and you can't prove that. If you give me your card and I say it got lost, what really can you do? I can tell you
Yeah.
this: every shipment that I've shipped to PSA, hoping it don't ever happen, but they've always been delivered at my door. Every
Yeah.
single one. You know, so I do grade. I grade with PSA, and I believe in doing it yourself. If you care enough about that card, you should put the time in and doing it. That's just everybody's different. Everybody's got philosophies, just like people collect wrestling or et cetera, et cetera. When it comes to grading, that's just what I think. You know, I'd rather take the time out, put my hands on it, look through it, and everything, and get it out. Because now with their 20-day submissions that they do, you can get it back so quick. It's not like it was, a couple years ago where it took 6 months. I mean, that submission I got back, I literally just sent it out like a month and a half ago, like maybe 6 weeks, maybe. But I mean, I've got stuff back within 2 weeks if I did a 10-day submission.
So with that on the PSA, are you doing just a number grade? Do you do an auto grade? Because I know a lot of people are pushing right now to do the dual auto grade. Some
hmm
people say do it, others say don't. Where do you kind of land?
I would love to do the auto grade. The only thing with the auto grade is it slows it down getting it back. So I would love to be able to have like the 10-10 on there, but I just do the card grade because when you do the auto, it goes through a different uh, channel through PSA. So therefore, you don't get it back as fast, and it also costs the process more. So there's several cards I wish I would have done an auto grade on, but no, I just do card grade.
Yeah. So since you do vend often, have you vend like just sports card shows, or have you also vended at like a con as well?
I haven't done that. I would love to. I haven't even been. This is crazy. Out of all the years that I've been doing this now, I haven't even been to a con. Like the one in Atlanta, because we was in Atlanta the weekend before the con show. I would have loved to turn around and went right back to Atlanta just to experience one because everybody that's told me that they went to one has just raved about how good the cons are. You know, I would love to go to a Comic Con show, and hopefully I'll get to do that next year. I definitely got it on the list. I'd like to go to the one in Orlando, or what's the big one they do over on the East Coast? Is it Carolina? Which there's
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would definitely like to do one. Now, you've been to cons, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you say the biggest difference is between going to that in like a Nashville or an Atlanta, the big shows, not the local ones?
The, so it sounds crazy to say it out loud, but people don't check completed sales at all. So for instance, I can have a Charizard and I'll have $200 on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might have somebody come in and go, "Hey, would you take a buck 80, whatever?" Versus a card show where people are like, "Oh, last one did 175 and 185," and you're like, "Well, hey, this one's got a swirl, this one's a little nicer condition," and it's more not of an it's a more of a negotiation scenario versus a con. I feel like you're reaching an end consumer kind of directly versus the card show. Sometimes it's flippers selling to flippers or dealers selling to whatnot dealers. There's always that guy who's wanting to make that extra margin versus a con. You just got somebody going, "Hey, I'm throwing this in the safety deposit box and it's sleeping in there for 10 years." So I think
Yeah,
that's the
well,
big difference.
and also too, and I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but I just think that the Pokemon community is totally different than sports cards. Like,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
I
I would
mean,
agree.
I mean, the Pokemon community to me is, one of the best. It's just a total different world because, like you said, yes, there's people that flip in Pokemon, of course, but those flippers are completely different than the guys that are the sports cards that is, all the time.
Yeah.
I just think that the crowd is different. I haven't, like I said, I haven't been to one, but when I have sold Pokemon and dealt with Pokemon people, like I'll tell you this, I don't even know if you remember this. All right, I'm going to tell your viewers a story about you. All right. So the very first show that I met Jerry at was in Gardendale. He come through and his girl was a Pikachu fan. I don't know if she still is.
100%.
Collect Pikachu cards. I had a lot of them. Jerry bought some, and there was one that we were stuck on that we couldn't find nothing on it, and I knew it was a rare card. And Jerry's like, "No, I'll give you this," and I was like, "All right, let's do it." And the next show I saw him, I'm going to tell you, there's nobody else that would probably do this. I pulled up on the phone. I said, "Jerry, I told you that card was super rare. And what did you do?" You said, "You know what?" And you paid me the difference. I've never had nobody do that. Like literally paid me the difference of the card at another card show that you didn't have to. You know what I mean? But I remember that. You know.
And that was the
Do you remember that?
Yep. Yeah, that was the Build-A-Bear Pikachu. Yeah, because we couldn't find any comps on it at all. And I was just like, hey, and it's still in her collection to this day, so it wasn't a buy to flip. It's a going straight to an in collector. But yeah, I definitely remember that because I was like, that was probably my third or fourth show at that point. I was still super novice, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what to offer because I can't find it, versus, now I kind of know how to approach those scenarios. But yeah, man, I would totally agree. I think that I don't want to say it like this. I feel like the Pokemon people are more pleasant to deal with than the sports card people.
100%. I agree with that. And I'm not trying to make none of my sports friends mad. None at all. I mean, y'all are great people, but I would say it's definitely two different groups. It's just a different vibe.
And I won't say it's just because of an easier negotiation, but it's literally, you get some of the sports guys and they're like, oh, well, this guy's playing like shit and blah, 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 versus Charizard's not going to tear an ACL. He's not going to get hurt. He's not going to pull a Wander Franco. Yeah. So it's like a way less friction,
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So since you've kind of been into the market, what are some significant changes that you've noticed in like the past couple years?
Oh, God, I just feel like there's been so much changes this year. I would not know how we could do a show if for some reason, if the internet went out, I would feel so bad for some of these kids and grown men. Like if they couldn't get on their phone, like to me, when I look at a card, I can I might not know the exact value of it, but I'm in a ballpark. Some of these people look at cards and they go, "How much is a card?" And you tell them and they go, "Oh my God, that's so high." And it's like, dude, that's $125 off the last comp. You don't even know, and then they have to get on their phone and go through it. I would think knowledge. I think we've got a lot of people that's come into the hobby that see what like all of us have been doing and they want to jump in and think that it's going to be are you okay? That it froze for a second. I think we got a lot of people that just jump in and think that it's easy, and it's not. So I think knowledge is probably the biggest key. It's just having knowledgeable people. Knowing what something is. I don't know. I would say that. I would say. What do you think? One of the biggest things you've seen?
Well, no, I would totally agree with you. The lack of an internet thing I have seen cripple certain guys. I mean, so, and I'm going to get into this with you, but I'm always a sticker as much as you can, price as much as you can before the shows, right? I know a lot of people, they don't look anything up and they just always, look it up right there on the fly. I totally agree with you. I'm at a point now where I can look at something and I might be 20, 30 bucks off, but I'm in the ballpark of, hey, that's a $50 card. That's a $5 card. Right. I think that really has not hurt our community, but so many people just really struggle. I mean, it's like, if they can't look it up right then and there versus, and this is something that I've kind of gained.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I've kind of gained from champs. going to a shop, going to your local LCS often, you can, you see cards, you see comps, you see prices, and you go, okay, hey, this Anthony Richardson patch, give or take probably $100, right? This one's a nasty patch, maybe a little bit more. This one's a napkin, maybe a little less. But yeah, I think so it happened. I think you were at the Chicago National with us, right?
Yes. Yeah. Up in
Okay.
Chicago. That was last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we went to the trade night for that event, there was no internet. And I couldn't tell you the amount of guys and girls that were just crippled. I mean, they just, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't have a very big collection. I don't bring a lot with me. So I try to sticker all my stuff and kind of get a price point or at least know a roundabout. But I saw guys with like 2-3 Zion cases full of stuff and just, I don't know. I can't look it up. And it's not funny, but you're just like.
It's funny. It's funny.
So I know JR's kind of opinion on this. So
yes.
Are you stick price tags on top or not? Where are we at on this one, JR?
Yeah, I have all 3,000 of my cards have got prices on every single one of them. No, I'm not a sticker person. I'm not a sticker person, and the reason being is because prices change. If I literally had, a box or two, then I would have everything stickered. But I mean, when I show up, I've got like Saturday, I got six 3-row boxes and 2 cases full. I pretty much know what I am is a notebook guy. I've got a notebook that I've got everything written down on, and I've got exactly where everything's at. Now it may change a little bit, but I would tell you the reason why I'm not a sticker person is because they change. You go as far as, somebody getting hurt, someone breaking something, et cetera, et cetera. The they're going to change so much. Me, pretty much, I know my cards and I know about where they're at. And also, too, I do something else. I have written down, and I don't know. I mean, there may be some people that do this, but I have like what I've got in it. Do you know what I mean? So when I look at it, I know exactly what I got in it, and then I know what it's selling for, and then I'll try to go in between the middle. You know what I mean? So like if I've got 200 in a card and the last sale was 325, I'm going to be like, okay, 250, that's 75 off last sale. I'm up 50. Now, it don't always work that way. I mean, sometimes, again, what we were talking about earlier today is about taking losses. You don't ever hear nobody talk about taking losses. It's something that our hobby doesn't talk about, and everybody takes a loss. So I guess one of the biggest things that I would want everybody to know is that, man, if you've taken a loss, don't think that you're by yourself. Every single one of us that you've seen him bring on this show has taken a loss one way or another. Every big dealer that you've seen has taken a loss. They might not talk about it, but because a lot of times when you go through stuff, you think, I made a bad decision. Am I the only one? You know what I mean? You get self-doubt brought in that, man, I really messed up. And it's like, because all you see is the glamour of, oh, I got this card, or, this is what it is, or et cetera, et cetera. And you never see the downside of it. And everybody's taking losses, and losses to me is you learn from it. If you learn from it, how you can do better, if you might have overpaid or whatever, I just think that's very important, because I've heard people take losses and they'll say, I don't know what to do, or they don't know how to handle it, because nobody talks about it, and it's very common. Everybody wants to win. You know what I mean? We want to win on every card, but when your collection gets so big, you're not going to win on every card. You're going to lose. But what was it? What was the guy that you said earlier that had the $10,000 card? What player was it?
Yeah, I had a buddy. I think I've told this story before on the Quiet Card podcast. He had I think it was $10,000, $15,000 Wander Franco card.
Right.
And I think he would.
So
be
before all that happened,
bucks.
If he would have sold it right before everything, and if somebody would have offered him 9,000, it would have been better for him to take $1,000 loss than you said he can't even sell it for 200 now.
Yeah,
that's a $10,000 loss. So sometimes in losses are good, because you learn. It's like, okay, do I want to take A $9,000 loss or a $1,000 loss? Sometimes $1,000 losses are a miracle when it comes to 10
Yes.
grand. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
100%. 100%. And, I always try to put it like this. I try to always say, it's not a loss, it's a lesson, and it's just the price of
Yes.
education. Whether
Yep.
you're going for a college education, certifications, everything costs money. Knowledge costs money. Chalk it up
Yes.
to a lesson.
Yep. And trust me, nobody likes it. It burns. You know what I mean? Any loss that I've ever had burns the worst. I mean, you hate it, but you just got to chop it up to the game and keep going.
So how do you determine value of a card? Do you have any like specific tools or resources that you use?
Yeah. So I will tell you, and I know I've heard people talk about this, but I'm going to tell you the reason why I don't use this. Card ladder. I don't use them, and I'm going to give you an example why, and I'm going to tell you what I use. So I had a guy at the Huntsville show last year come up to me, and he was looking at a gold uh, Chuck Liddell auto, gold Chuck Liddell auto. And he said the card sold for this, and he's got it on card letter, and he puts it up and says it. And I told him, I said, no, that's not right. I pulled it up on my phone. I said, I bought that card off eBay. The guy took my best offer, and I showed him what I paid for it. Big difference. And he goes, I didn't know. Everybody's always told me that they're 100% right. And I said, well, obviously, you see now they're not, because this actually listing, the guy put 3 of 10. It was a gold select of Chuck Liddell. And I showed him where I bought the card. And he was like, it's, I go to eBay sold listings. And even on that, it's not 100% correct, because a lot of times it will say best offer 180, and it won't have a line through it. Like this just happened to me the other day. It won't have a line through it, so you think that the person paid 180 for the card. I think, to me, the most accurate one is 130 point. That's probably the best that I've seen out of all of them, because they will show you the best offer that was taken, what it was. But those are the only two that I use. I use eBay completed sales, and if I can't find it on that, I'll use 130 point. What is your go-to that you use?
So I'm right there with you. I'm an eBay sales, completed sales. I'm a hardcore 130 point user. I
Yeah,
made
I
sure that
think
I
that's
went
the
and got a
best.
hat at Nationals because I was like, oh, you guys got merchandise. We got to rock you. Here
Right.
recently, I jumped into the subscription service of Center Stage, but
Yeah.
I really don't use Center Stage so much as a price guide, but as a guide for what parallel am I looking at? So
Right.
Panini right now, some people love it. I'm kind of on the side of I don't enjoy it. They just have so many parallels. You're like, is this a green laser? Is this whatever, right? And the thing that I like with Center Stage is it will tell you exactly what parallel it is. And so at
But you
least
got to
I
have
can,
the subscription to do that, though.
well, they've got a free version and you get 100 scans a month. I I like to scan stuff. I'll go through the dollar box and scan it and go, what is this? What is that? So I can burn through it pretty fast,
I
especially
was gonna say you can burn through that at Champs in one day.
that. Yeah, I mean, JR seen me at the $5 box. I mean, I'll go through the whole box,
The whole box.
the entirety.
So how how,
So
how much is the subscription on that?
so I think the unlimited one is like $14 a month, which isn't bad.
I
I
haven't heard. I didn't know that they had it, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah, they just recently added that. And just the kind of the way I look at it is for every $5 card that I purchase that I can sell for 20, that paid for the subscription for the
But
month.
yeah, are they
Um,
pretty accurate on the completed sales that you've seen compared to like eBay and 130
so
point?
so it's right up there with it. Sometimes I'll say that my knock with Center Stage is if you've got stuff that's super shiny, like a lot of the stuff
Uh-huh.
off of First Off the Line or stuff like that that's just really, really shiny, it does struggle with that. But as far as paper cards, bro, I can burn through
Right on
them
it.
just super fast. And I mean, there's been
Nice.
times where I picked up and I want to say it was out of a dollar box. It was a Mike Trout SP, and it was the Jackie Robinson edition, right? It's something's different with the card, right? It's like a $30 card. So I was like, cool, that paid for the subscription for 2 months, no big deal. So kind of like, how do you anticipate the sports card market will evolve in like the next 5-10 years? Like, are you
Man,
like, what's your thoughts?
where we're going to go?
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are super nervous with like the Fanatics takeover.
Yeah, yeah, that is really. I really believe right now we're in a who knows. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, and I mean that because there's so many variables that I feel like that are in play that we're almost. I really believe that we could probably answer that in January. Kind of see where we're going to be at because with everything with Panini and Fanatics and even what they're trying to do now, like we saw it really take precedent like in the Atlanta show. There were so many people there that couldn't be there because they're being told you have to be at your store and you have to do trade night. Like I'm all for people coming in trying to make things better, but if the way I look at it, if I pay my bills and I pay my rent and my name's on the building, you're not going to come in and tell me what I have to do. Like that's and I've talked to several shop owners that feel the same exact way you know, uh, how you're going to walk in and just say, because I'm going to give you an allocation, I'm going to tell you where you have to be, how you have to do it, and how high you're going to jump. And if you don't do that, I'm going to pull it. That doesn't sound like a good type of relationship that I want to be
and the scary with me is as far as my thoughts towards that exact comment, because I've heard from multiple card shop owners very similarly, and it's like, you know, other than allocation, what are the card shops getting? Because I feel like Fanatics is a company that is working actively towards a direct to consumer. Let's skip JR's card shop.
in.
Let's
Yes.
skip, so
What are they
I think,
bringing to the table for the card shop? That's
yes,
what it
yeah.
boils down to. Besides just a box that I'm shipping to you so you can sell, what else are you doing for me? You know, I mean, because that's like I had a friend that went to the Fanatics Fest. They made them go and didn't give them a dime. They had to buy their own plane tickets, their hotel, everything. You're talking about a couple $1,000s to attend an event that you're not getting nothing in return for your business, except you're being told to go there.
Now, I don't know if you
That's
heard this part, and this is just allegedly what I've heard from unnamed shop owners, but
right.
they said with that Fanatics Fest event, they had to attend at least 3 events. And if they didn't attend at least 3 events, they would get their allocation cut. If they left early, they would get their allocation cut. And,
It's crazy.
when you hear stuff like that, I don't necessarily love that. That doesn't feel safe. That doesn't feel secure. I mean, me personally, I'm not a shop owner, or I'm not a brick and mortar
Right.
owner.
A brick and mortar. Yeah.
But even as a guy who actively goes to his LCS, I mean, that's going to directly affect me and my skills and abilities because when they come trying to knock down these brick and mortars, how am I going to actively participate in the hobby? I mean, obviously I can go to shows, I can put out like Facebook posts like, hey, buying, selling, whatever, right? But, you know, I I'm trying to be a half glass full kind of thought with Fanatics. But yeah, I've heard from more than one shop owner very similar, stories to what you've heard as well. And it doesn't seem particularly awesome.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you think about this? Do you think that Panini will eventually sell to Fanatics
You
after
know,
they lose doing the football? Because really the only thing they're going to have is UFC, soccer, and something
WNBA.
else. Like, would it be best for? WNBA, would it be best for them to sell and try to do a partnership? But I just feel like there's been so much hatred between with the legal battles and everything that I don't see how that could ever happen. What do you think? Do you think that they could come to that? Because
So
I can't imagine a world where there's no National Treasures or Flawless or Prism. Like that is going to look so different whenever you talk about years to come in the next 5 to 10 years. That's going to be crazy because they're not going to be able to do it.
yeah, I would love to see a scenario where so I feel like this year's National Treasures basketball is going to be hurt substantially just due to a lack of Wemby autographs. Like obviously, yes,
100%.
we can get a patch and it can be a 1-on-1 and that's cool, but it kind of destroys the whole rookie patch auto. It
It's
kind of
that true
destroys.
RPA.
Yes.
Yes.
And
well,
what I
we've been
think
dealing
is
with that with football the last couple of years. On the football side, you go last year, the year before, and then this past year, no CJ Strouds, none. I mean, it's been happening now that they've been taking these big guys and where they can't do it, and you can only get a patch. I mean, it's I don't know. I just didn't know where you kind of saw it going. As far as do you think they could ever like buy and bridge that or not?
I would, even if they stay two separate entities, I would like to see a more mutual agreement between the two companies. Kind of you're Panini, I'm Fanatics. You want some Wemby autographs. We will give you some licensed autograph, whether, even if the sticker on there says Fanatics official autograph on a, Panini card, something. I would like to see some kind of mutual, we're going to work it out. But like you said, like with the legal battles, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a friendly agreement by any means.
No.
And it really feels kind of like a Fanatics is just going to buy out all the big major characters. And, if you can run your business, great. And if you can't, we'll just buy the remains once you're, out of business, basically.
And to me, what I feel like is they're both hurting themselves because, like you said, with the Panini, you can't get the autos of the Wemby, but then on the Fanatic side, on the tops, you can't get the jerseys. You're getting a black jersey, and it's like
Yeah, you
you're
can't get
hurting
the
each
licensed
other.
product.
You
Yeah.
can get the auto in one, but it's not going to say Spurs. You can get the patch, and it's going to say Spurs, but no auto. You're both hurting each other. Because there's
Not
never
only
no
hurting
truth.
each other, I think you're hurting the community too.
Yes.
And so thinking like, okay, Wemby is this amazing athlete that we're going to care about
Generational
for
talent.
years to come, right? In 10, 15 years, when these kids who are kids now are adults with money, they're always going to think, Kabooms, National Treasures, Color Blast, Downtowns. You go through the list. Well, if we keep kind of doing this petty back and forth, I don't know. It doesn't really seem as if it's going to be a good outcome, honestly.
Yeah. So getting back to your question, where things is in the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's very just unknown, as far as how this transition, because isn't it 2025 or is it 2026 when they take over everything? When
I
is
think
it?
it's 20. I think it's 25.
Yeah. So, like I said in the beginning, in January, we'll see a lot of how this transition is going to happen, what it's going to look like, and see, because, before you could ask that question a couple of years ago and be like, well, it's going to do this because this disruption hasn't happened. Fanatics didn't do what they've done. So now to me, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think where that does hurt the hobby. I think a lot of people are like don't know what's going on, and I think that messes with the buying power, of like card shows, But I could be wrong
No,
too.
I would totally agree. That level of uncertainty is keeping people from wanting to spend money.
Yes, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, if they had the knowledge of, hey, this is for sure going to be good, we're not going to worry about it. But the same thing you and I are feeling. I think the vast majority of collectors right now are feeling that same sentiment of like, you know, do I go for the Topps Chrome that isn't San Antonio Spurs, but I can get the autograph, or do I go for the National Treasure Pat? And it's like versus going back to like the Zion rookie year, you're like, oh, okay, no, this is his rookie patch autograph out of
Sure.
National
RPA.
Treasure. Yeah, I know that
Yep.
this should retain value. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you were saying a minute ago about the card shop owners, I know several of them, and they're in the ones that have not given their business over to fanatics that are holding back. They're nervous. They don't know what's going on because it's almost like fanatics is making them, you're either going to do this with us or you're not going to be able to get nothing,
Yeah.
and you're going to be out, you know, almost like you have no choice but to do it, uh, and that's very uncertainty for a lot of areas that, like us where we live at, we have one shop. Yeah, there's other shops, but we have one. And there's a lot of other cities that are like that. And it's like, what is going to happen? So it's almost like I don't think anybody could really say what's going to happen until we see I would say the first 2 quarters of next year. Maybe around June, July of next year, kind of get a feel of what's going on and kind of where we're headed to, you know.
Yeah, and like I said, I've got lots of friends who are shop owners, and I've even heard stories of just people showing up and oh, hey, where'd you get this box, or where'd you get that, and they're questioning these shop owners who are like, oh, how did you get this hobby box, and the shop owner's like, well, I'm not going to tell them where I got it from. Like, why would
It's
I
your
mess up?
business, bro. It's your business.
Exactly.
How can you come in and
Exactly.
ask me where I get something at when I pay the bills? You pay my mortgage, you pay my electricity bill, you pay my getting boxes bill, my inventory, and I'll be more than glad to tell you everything.
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything. But as long as I'm paying the bills, bro, you don't got the right to come in and ask me.
I know, and it's it seems sneaky for fanatics to be sending out these just, oh yeah, oh he's just on vacation, just going by and checking out a shop. Like, yeah, for sure, So,
I ain't buying it.
since you've been in the hobby so long, I know that you've seen people do stuff the right way and people do stuff the wrong way. And I know you've talked about your own personal experiences. Kind of what are some things that you see collectors do that, kind of is the wrong way of doing it?
I don't know necessarily like want to say what people doing the wrong thing. I think this is what I would suggest is because I don't really want to call like say I don't want to be judgmental, but what I do want to say is this: when you're doing a show, you never want to go to a show where you have to hide who you are, if that makes sense. One thing that I love is that no matter where I go, I don't never have to hide who I am. I can show up very proud with my stuff because I'm going to give a fair deal and I'm going to give a good deal. And I have a lot of customers that where I go, they ask where I'm at. I've got people in almost every city that reach out to me on Instagram. If I'm in Nashville, they want to know if I'm going to be there. If I'm in Atlanta or Birmingham or anywhere, they want to know. I think that's doing it the right way. If you do business with integrity and do it right, and you should never pull up at a show and say, I hope I don't see Jim. You know what I mean? And Jim could be anybody.
Yeah.
You never want to have to walk up and say, man, this is going to be a great day. But if I don't see Alan, man, it could be good because I kind of got him last time and he knows it. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's how you should be. Instead of like saying somebody's doing something wrong, that's the attitude to do it. Is it no matter where you do a show at, you're not going to have somebody come up at you and make a scene. I have seen that, and it's embarrassing. I saw a guy do that to a guy, and I was like, oh my God, I never want to be that guy. I can't imagine being in a show and somebody coming up 6 months ago, you did blah, 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 blah. How embarrassing is that? Because our community is big, but it's small. We know everybody.
Oh yeah.
We know the dealers when we show up. That's one of the great things about our business is when I go up, I see people that I never see unless I see them at a show. But they'll come across the room to come say hi to me. You know what I mean? And I'll do the same thing. Is and that's what I love about our community. I've got people that that I consider, I'm not going to say friends because I don't know them, but very good acquaintances that when they see me, they make sure to come say hi. You know, uh, that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. When you go to a show and you've got 10 or 12 people coming up that want to see you to say hi, that means you're doing good. You're not ducking, diving, and weaving, and let me sneak in and sneak out. Like that's bad. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've seen that before where they're like, "Oh God, I cooked that guy this last time, this, that, and the other," and you're like,
It's not worth
that's a
it.
bad. There's no longevity in that either. Like
There's none.
maybe
Because what'd you
you
say?
know,
Like 30 shows this year? Like it
yeah,
makes no sense to have one show when I'm going to do 30. Like that makes no sense. One sale is not worth your business. It's just not worth it.
no, I totally agree. So on the flip side of that, what's something that you see people kind of doing correct? Like not being judgmental. Like what's something that you see that's like, hey, we need to see more of this in the hobby.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's a lot too of that. Like I feel like, doing a you ask some good questions, Jerry, that make me think. Like there is a lot of good things in the hobby. I think, just again, it goes back to kind of like what I was saying is just being fair with everyone, not trying to take advantage of someone, you know, uh, giving everybody time. One of the things that I've always tried to do is when the kids come up, to try, even though that they're not about to spend 500 or 1,000, give them the same courtesy. When kids come up to me and they're looking, I'm not like move to the side because this grown up is about to spend a band. I want him. This past Saturday when we was at Vestavia, this little kid come up and he's like, oh my god, these cards are so cool. I got him out so he could touch them and feel them, and he just thought it was the greatest thing ever. Uh, because I don't know. Well, I used to try to give stuff away when I did Pokemon. I would give stuff away to the kids. I think that's very good. And yeah, just going back to what I said a minute ago, just doing it right. That is the good thing. You know, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, first off, I'm 100% for the kids. Like, if anybody's ever gonna rip Jerry off, 100% it's a little kid. I have little
Yes.
kids. They come up and they're like, "Hey," and I've had people where they're like, "Hey, I'm just trying to do a trade up challenge, or I'm trying to sell this to go get something else." And there's been plenty of times where I'm like, "Dude, this is a $10 card, and I'm not going to offer anybody else $10. Here's the whole $10, or here's an even extra $5. Go for that, extra." And even on like the trade up challenge thing, I know that gets on a lot of vendors' nerves and stuff. You know, I don't.
One, one, one. You get one because if not, the whole herd is going to come. You know.
Well, so I personally have a whole box of stuff that I
Yeah.
literally call the trade up challenge stuff. Like, I'll just pick it up and say, "Hey, bud, I can't do a trade with you for that, but here's 3 extra cards. Throw that in the pile and
Yes.
take it to the next guy." And
Because those kids are smart. They'll go tell all their friends that guy over there is doing a trade up challenge. And next thing you know, because that's what happened to me. I was like, trade up challenge. This was like a couple years ago. Yeah, I'll do it. 5 minutes later, another one and another one and another one, and I'm like, okay, this has got to stop. Like we can't. I can't do trade up challenge all day long. Like I'm sorry, I can't. I can't do it.
well, see, that's one of the things I always I don't set up as much as I should, but when I do set up, one of the things I like to do is I have like a game where I hand kids 3 Pokemon cards, and it's like, hey, one of those cards is fake. Spot a fake, win a prize, and even if they don't spot the fake, they always win a prize. I mean, they're little
Right.
kids. But, I like, and this is just, my thought. If you can empower the kid, if you can make the kid feel welcomed, that kid's coming back. And not only that,
100%.
but when you treat them right, I've had times where I'm super nice to the kid and dad comes by. And like you said, dad comes by, drops a band on you, and you're like, dog, you
Yes.
just paid my rent and then some. Really appreciate you. And he's like, no, you took the time to be kind to my kid. And I have parents that come by and see me every time I'm set up at the Huntsville show. They literally go, hey, where are you at? And I'm like, who is this person on Instagram? And I see a picture of the kid. I'm like, that's his dad. Okay. Or her dad,
Yes.
whatever. And yeah, I'm all about trying to be the most mom friendly, kid friendly as I can be.
I've had that happen several times. What you just said, and no, it's not going to happen when you deal with 100 kids, but 2 or 3, it's worth it because actually at the Nashville show 2 weeks ago, this little boy come through, nice kid. You know what I mean? Real eye for good cards. Man, he come back with his mom. They spent $800 on like three or four cards. $800, and it was all because of taking time with him. He looked at it, I had no idea. And is her, yeah, but no, like I was saying, the kid come back with his mom, and they showed up and ended up spending like $800 on 3 cards. And she was like, hey, this is going to be your birthday present. And I was like, I need you as my mom. Like, I never got that, but it was being nice and everything that she was okay with it.
Yeah. And I feel like when you build that trust, with the kid, then the parent goes, oh, listen, little Billy likes you. We're ready to drop some money.
Yeah, 100%.
So JR, where do you go to get like your info on where to buy sports cards and stuff?
Oh man, wow. So I'm going to tell you what I do. All right. So every week I go and I get a steak and I cook it. I get a lobster and I set it down. I get on the internet and I go to the Jeff Wilson show and I look at his top 5. Because let me tell you, when he told me, I know that Kyler Murray just beat Justin Jefferson. I know Kyler Murray just beat Brock Purdy. But let me tell you, I have invested so much in Will Greer because that is the go-to guy when it comes to what to invest in. So just let me tell you, that's what I do. Not really.
No, I'm
That
a
is
big Will
exactly
Greer
what I do. I
collector
wait for that
myself.
top 5 every week, and I get my notepad out and I'm taking notes. Yeah. I don't know where I would be without the top 5, weekly top 5. Really don't.
Hey, that's my favorite way to eat the lobster too, JR. A little surf and turf, man.
Yeah,
Helps. Yeah.
absolutely. And getting knowledge from the most knowledgeable person in the hobby. I'm just telling you, that's that's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Now, I will say I love Carter. I love Ryan. Those guys are the reason why Cards HQ is so successful. Like 110%. I
I'm
mean,
joking,
literally.
of course, and for
Yeah.
everybody out there.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But
Okay.
we are buying Will Greer at
Yes, we're
120%.
still buying Will Greer. I don't even know where he's at now. I thought I saw him at Walmart earlier and bagging, but I'm not for sure. He could always do a Kurt Warner, from the grocery store to the Super Bowl. You never
Yeah.
know. They might make a
So
movie out of him.
So one of the things I always like to ask people, since this is a show for kind of the newer collector, why should you go to a card show?
That's a great question. I think you should go to a card show, one, to just meet the community, to see stuff that you normally are not going to see. You know, uh, you're gonna, if you like cards or if you like Pokemon or Magic or whatever, I was very surprised this last show. I saw a lot, and maybe they are at shows. I just haven't seen them because this was a smaller venue, but there was a lot of Disney, and I did not know about a lot because I'm not in that world. You know, it was in it and it looked amazing, but stuff like that, you go to a card show, you're going to get to see a lot of stuff that you're not going to normally see. You're going to be able to buy there. You're not going to pay eBay fees. You're not going to have to pay shipping. You're not going to have to worry about the quality of the card getting damaged and being mailed to you. See, these are all advantages that when people come up to a table and they want to try to beat you up on price, guys, you got to think that we already have it there. You know what I mean? It's not getting shipped to you. It's not waiting 4 or 5 days. The card that you want, I've got at my table that you're able to get and see the condition right then. So sometimes when you're going over $5, might lean a little bit to the dealer side because it's right there in front of you. Just putting that out there, you know. But as far as going to a card show, you're going to meet people that you normally would never hang out with. Going back to Pokemon Go, when I first got into Pokemon, I met a community that probably I never ever would have hung out with. But we met up at every community day, every time we had a raid day. And they become some of the most nicest people that I met by that. And you're going to find that at a card show. Not only getting cards, but having relationships with people that maybe like the same person that you like, and nobody else likes that particular player. Now you have a mutual ground in common to start up a conversation, you know, on a really cool note that, oh wow, you like Dwayne Wade? I do too. What? Well, man, I started watching him in Marquette. Well, I started doing, and you know, and it's just a good way because we live in a world today where it's hard to meet people. Everybody is so focused when they leave the house. They're going to work, they're doing this. They're not giving you time or day to, hi, how are you? I hope you have a good day. You know, we just live in a world that we don't see that right now. You know, everybody is all about going 100 miles an hour. And at a card show, you're probably going to find some friends. One of my best friends now is because I got into the card business and he's just like a brother to me. You know, we might not have the same blood, but I look at him just as a brother and care for him the same exact way. And that's all because of the hobby, you know. So I think getting out to a card show is like crucial if you just want to have fun. You know, it's a good way just to have fun.
Yeah, I would totally agree. First off, on the lean a little towards to the vendor side, you know, like you said, the card's right there. You physically can look at it. It's not going to get messed up in the mail. You can avoid
Yes.
all the PayPal, eBay, Macari, whatever.
Taxes.
Yeah, all of it. Just right then, there, done. And you know, I've had a lot of people go, well, why would I go to a card show? I've got eBay, I've got, you know, Veriswap, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm like, there's stuff that you're never going to find online. I mean, there's some of the best vendor tables
100%.
I've been to. Those guys aren't on Instagram. They're not on
Mm-mm.
Facebook. They're, you know,
Nope.
they're older guys who still operating on a flip phone, you know, like those are not the
Yep.
guys videotaping their rips. Um, but yeah, well, JR, I really appreciate you coming on. Tell the people where can we find you? What platforms do you sell on? Like shout it out.
All right, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. My name is across the name on all. I'm on Instagram, PokemonufcJR, and well, no, I guess that's it. I don't do Facebook. I don't do nothing else. I do eBay, but it's a weird name. But it is attached to my Pokemon account on Instagram. I have a link on there, so you can go to that. On YouTube, it's Pokemon UFC JR as well. So it's the same name across all platforms.
Yeah, and like I said, one of the things that I feel is most notable about JR's collections, I mean, it's literally from Pokemon, Conor McGregor autos, gold the tens, rookie patch autos, like the craziest stuff you could dream of. JR's got it.
Thank you. Started in the dollar boxes. Everybody remember that.
Listen, you got to scale up. Don't
Yes.
use leverage. Just slowly grind, grind, grind.
Yes.
So, everybody, this is the Jerry Pitre Show, your go to podcast for everything in the world of collectible cards and sports memorabilia. Go give JR a like, follow, share, subscribe. Same thing with this show. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.